Hi, this is Todd Olthoff, and welcome to another edition of Screencasts Online. This week, we will take a look at a powerful project management application by Note17 software called Pagico 8. Pagico 8 includes the ability to add tasks, lists, projects, and files in one interface. It also allows you to store your contacts and collaborate with others who may be working on your projects, and link different tasks and documents to the users and projects that you're managing. It also includes a companion iOS application that lets you take your projects and tasks with you on the go. So let's get started with the installation and setup of Pagico 8. Okay, so here we are over on the Pagico website, and it's at pagico.com. And you have to go to the website to get the application for your Mac, as it's not available in the Mac App Store, so you do have to go to the website. Or you can get it as part of your Set app subscription, which we covered in a previous screencast. And this app may be a reason why you might want to consider using the service. For the iOS applications, you can get those through the iOS App Store, but for Mac, you do have to go to the website right here. Now, a couple of things about Pagico. First is that if we just go over here to the store and take a look at the prices, you can see for a single user for Pagico 8, it is $50. Now there is a 15-day free trial, which allows you to try it out before you buy it to get an idea if you want to buy it in the first place. And then for any additional seats, it is $5 for any additional computers owned by the same user. So it's just an extra $5 to add them to those computers. Now, one of the interesting things about this application is it is also available for Windows and for Ubuntu. And so they've got you covered on all of the different platforms. Just in case you've got a situation where maybe you've got a different machine at work, that sort of thing, you can use this application across those various platforms. Now, if we just scroll down here, all the way to down here where it says Pagico Plus, this is for the iOS application. Now, again, you can get it from the App Store, and it is free to download the application itself. But there is a sync charge, which is basically $9.99. It is a one-time fee, but it gives you a sync between your devices so that whatever you have on your Mac will sync to your iOS devices like your iPhone or your iPad. You get the first 6 months for free to try it out, and I'll show you what it looks like to do the sync, but just wanted you to be aware of those prices as well. Now, there is a limit to how much data you can use, with the initial being 512 megabytes. And as you can see here, there are other options that you can choose from depending on what your data needs are for the sync. Okay, so here we are in the startup screen for Pagico. Let me just go ahead and click in here. You can select the language that you want to use, and you can see the various languages they have available here. We're just going to go ahead and leave it at English, and I'm just going to hit the next arrow there. And now it's going to ask me my time zone. And so you come in here and you can select your time zone from this drop down. I'm going to leave it exactly where it's at there. And now it's going to activate the application for the first time. And you can see here it has start your free 15-day trial. And so you'd put in your email address in here if you want to get tutorials and special offers. If you have an activation code, you would just click on that right here and set up the activation. Or if you are on the Set app version of the application, it will take you directly to the welcome screen. And if you click on pricing and purchase down here, you can get more information again about the pricing that I just showed you. So we're just going to go ahead and leave it at that and say next. And now it's going to load the application and says that my activation is complete, and it refers me to some help articles. So let's go ahead and just click on start, and it's going to load the actual workspace for the first time.